Okay, so a lot's happened in the last few months, especially the last few weeks, and we're gonna get into it. So, two things. This video is partially scripted, partially not. I'm not sure how long it's going to be. We'll see how long I end up rambling at the different points I need to discuss. Second, I am in a new spot. I had a chance to film this in my bedroom instead of in the separate living space that I needed to because I am home alone and there's no background noise from a TV in the other room. Oh, I have cat hair in my eye. Wonderful. I decided to film over here in this space that I am comfortable in because this is going to be a very mentally heavy video. Obviously by the title, I am talking about Kavira and the updates that I have at the moment, and it's just a lot. So I wanted to be comfortable. I wanted to be where I work. I wanted to be where I've done the most progress on my novel recently. And we're going to get into it. So I finished the fifth draft or fourth draft or whatever it's called of Alina Kavira back in October, November, December time period of 2025. And so January, I spent that entire time doing the beta process with 2 beta readers that I had found from Fiverr. I don't know if I'm going to do this process again because I didn't fully love the entire experience with the specific beta readers that I had. I love the idea of beta readers, but I didn't get out of it what I wanted or I needed, and I didn't realize what I wanted and needed until I got my developmental edit. We'll go into that later. It was a big rush to make some final edits and make some tweaks and stuff that I had gotten from the beta readers before sending it off to my developmental editor because I had a tight deadline. I had a deadline of February 1st. And normally I don't think I would have had this tight of a deadline, but when I reached out to her early January, late December, she had an opening, which is the only reason I got in at February. If I needed it earlier or later, I would have likely had to wait until spring because this was just a window. Maybe she had just a random opening for me to fill. So it was a lot. So January was heavy on the edits, on the final details, on the final tweaking that I had to do. And then I sent it off on February 1st. I went over how this went in the I'm struggling video. I will link that up in the cards. But quick overview. I'm going to be glancing down at my notes. The first week in February was basically my exhaustion period. It was the point where I was just scrolling, being lazy because it was the first week after sending it off. And the first week that I couldn't do anything to Kavira, which I had been working on consistently for a very long time. The second week was my motivation for easy things and easy creative things. I basically spent the second week working on like carousel posts and graphics that I put together in Canva to eventually post on Instagram. Oh, I have to remember to breathe. I don't have to finish my sentences without breathing. I had hoped to do 30 days straight of Instagram with these carousels, but I got about a week into it and I realized they weren't performing at all. Like, I had been getting maybe 100 views per video on my reels, but carousels got next to nothing. And so I really wanted to switch to doing reels, and I wanted to do 30 days of Instagram and just continue with that. And then the third week of February came and I read my edit letter, which I technically got back on the 16th, but I didn't read it until the 17th. And pretty much my thought process, my motivation, my mental capacity of what I could handle regarding Kavira and social media just crashed. I had a lot of choices and decisions and stuff that had to be made. I had a lot of points that got brought up in the edit letter. And it became very clear After reading the edit letter, it became very clear how much work I actually had to do. Kavira is basically split into two parts. The first half follows more of a school activities, more romance set in a fantasy world, or slice of life set in a fantasy world. And the second half makes like a jarring shift into the fantasy aspect and like the classic fantasy elements that you get. And I did not blend those two properly. And so I knew going... This is why I script my fucking videos. From reading the edit letter, I realized how big of a problem the non-blending part was. The people who came for the first half would not stay for the second half, and the people who came for the second half would never make it to that point because they would drop it in the first half. There is a lot of not being sure who this novel is for and needing to make sure that the entire novel is for that reader. Now, there were some options and ways I could take this, and basically I had come up with 3 options. I think I also go over this in the I'm struggling video too, but I'm not quite sure. Anyways, the first was to make the story work as is to blend the ideas, blend the two halves, and make it all a bit more fantasy. The second option is to rewrite like 50,000 words out of 95,000 to make the entire novel more of a cozy college slice of life romantasy, which the first half gives insight to. Third option, which was kind of like an out there, completely crazy idea that I had gotten from discussing all of this with my writing community. Someone had mentioned the anime Fate Stay, I think. These ones. And they have the same characters, but different plot lines, basically, and different sort of worlds. And so the idea was to write both stories, both the cozy, both the fantasy, split them and have them focused and dedicated on the two of them and publish both. Now, I was gearing towards this idea for a little while, but then I emailed my editor and I was doing all of that. I forgot to mention my editor was Brielle on YouTube. She's right here. Her thoughts on that third idea was not great because she said that I would be writing these stories for 2 completely different groups, and I 100% agree with that. So it took probably a week or 2 of journaling, talking to people, more journaling, figuring out some ideas, more journaling. It was a lot, and it took a while to come up with where I was going. But as for the decision that I made, I decided to go with the first option, which is to rework the story I have now and make it work. Because this story is the best thing for my future career and for my future stories. And so that's the decision. Now, it took me a minute to really make this choice because I was concerned about making the wrong choice. Making a choice that would not benefit the story or my future or whatever. I wanted to make the choice that would best fit the story. And so when I was emailing Brielle about all my different ideas, she made sure to mention that no matter what choice I went with, no matter what decision I went with, it would not be a bad one. It's just a matter of picking the choice, picking the decision, and making the edits to the novel that needs to be done. As for what this means moving forward, there's a lot that needs to be done. Currently, I have to start with rewriting the outline because I am on the 5th draft. I've been working on this novel consistently since 2021, and I've had this idea since like 2018. So the story I started out with when I was writing this back in 2021, 2022, it is not the same story. The amount of edits, the amount of changes, especially with the world building that I have made in the past, has completely changed the story. Fuck, why is there so much noise outside? Then I need to reread the edit letter because I now have a final decision. I now have a direction I am going. And so I need to reread and reabsorb the information from the edit letter to be able to look at it with fresh eyes and be able to actually implement the information there. And then I have to start working on getting general ideas of how to fix the novel. Most people do this through highlighting different sections and passages and taking notes as they go, which I definitely need to do. I need to figure out what chapters and scenes need to be added or deleted. There's a lot of moving around of things. Oh, I also need to add more of that fantasy plot line that I have with the antagonist and pull back a little bit on Alina and her personal development in the first half, because that is basically being introduced as the plot in the first half, and that's not the case. This story is involving the plot with the antagonist, and that is the main plot. And so I really need to shift my focus of the idea of like, that is the plot, not Alina, and not her wanting, like, discovering what path she's taking. That is the subplot, and it needs to be a subplot. But right now, the first half of the story really focuses towards Alina and her future and where she's going. And so I need to shift that focus, and I need to make the fantasy plot with the antagonist bigger. There is probably a lot more that's going to go into this. There's probably a lot of details and a lot of things that I have yet to discover that is going into this, because life's been crazy. I had really wanted to get this video out last week, but work has been a lot the last couple of weeks. I have no idea how long this entire process will take. I have no idea what the future looks like. I had really, really wanted to do a Kickstarter for Kavira, but I don't think that that's the best idea. I think right now I need to focus on just getting it published, and then maybe in the future I can do a special edition version on Kickstarter or something. I don't know. I really like the idea of Kickstarter. I really like the idea of additional things. I might still do those. We will see. Unfortunately, funding the creation of this novel is a lot. I basically had to split up my developmental edit into 3 payments, and we will see how it goes. I got my edit letter back on the 17th. And it is March 7th. It's basically taken me this long to figure out what to do, where to go, the direction I need to take. And at this point, I am very, very mentally exhausted from work, both mentally and physically. So having the time and energy to work on my novel is limited. Which is also why it's taken this long. But I am trying my best. My goal is still to get this novel published by the end of the year, because why is there a fucking plane now? I'm almost done. I would really like to get this novel published by the end of the year, because I really want to move on with future stories and get away from this world that I've been stuck in for 5 years, if not longer. Anyways, subscribe to follow my journey. Join my mailing list. It is a Google Doc sheet in the description. They will get first updates. Let me know how your WIP is going. Let me know if you like this style of video. It's sort of sit down informational, educational style, but with more of a lifestyle feel. I can't do vlogs. I can't film in my space. I can set up a background and I can talk to you guys, and that's about what I can do. But let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys next time. Bye. Did I ever introduce myself? No. I guess I'll do that next time. Bye.